Hello, everybody. So today we're actually talking about the cellular adaptation. It's very simple. Cellular adaptation is cellular response. In simple words, we can say that it's the response of a cell to external stresses. One definition can be that cellular adaptation is the ability of cells to respond by increasing functional demand to various types of stimuli or adverse environmental changes, which means that a cell increases its functional demand to adjust with the external stimuli or stresses. All right, so why these changes are made by the cell? These changes usually make cells to make itself more tolerable uh, to the adverse environment to which they are exposed. So, like here, I have mentioned a very basic example, which we will study it in upcoming slides in metaplasia, which is a type of cellular response. What happens is that in acid reflux, when the acid flows back into the esophagus, so usually in normal conditions, we have uh, squamous epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium in lower esophagus, but then these may undergo metaplastic transformation to the intestinal type of columnar epithelium. Why it happens? Because these intestinal columnar epithelial cells are more tolerable to this adverse change of the acid reflux. I hope you got it. Right, now, let's move on to the types of the cellular adaptation. There are five types of the cellular adaptation: hypertrophy, atrophy, hyperplasia, and metaplasia, and of course dysplasia. First of all, let us discuss about hypertrophy. What is hypertrophy? In fact, it's the increase in the volume or size of the cell, which results into the increase in the size of the organ. So, in simple words, we can say that hypertrophy means increase in the size of the cell, resulting into the enlarged organs. So, for hypertrophy, there are three processes involved, three things involved. Remember it. The first thing is gene activation, and the second is protein synthesis, and third is production of organ release, which will lead to the hypertrophy of the organs. Right. Now, let us go towards the types of hypertrophy. We see different types of hypertrophy. So, one is pathological hypertrophy and physiological hypertrophy. Pathological hypertrophy is actually the abnormality and the disorder of the enlarged cells that totally change the normal functioning of our biological system. Like I would say, cardiac hypertrophy in response to pulmonary pressure because of alveolar hypoxia. When there is low ventilation in alveoli, what happens is that pulmonary arteries out there constricts, which results into the backflow of the blood into the right ventricle. What happens out there? The uh, pulmonary pressure increases, which results into the hypertension, increased hypertension, and this results into the cardiac hypertrophy and later on cardiac failure. As you can see right here, the left heart is normal with normal right ventricle, but on the right you see that there is hypertrophy in the right ventricle, which was due to the hypertension by increased pulmonary pressure, which was caused by the low ventilation, I would say alveolar hypoxia. Now, what is physiological hypertrophy is that it is nothing like something no special. It's just normal functioning of our body, but there is enlargement of the cells or maybe tissues or organs increase in size with normal functioning. There is no problem, but the cells are enlarged, like cardiac hypertrophy to chronic exercise. Sometimes you see athletes, because of their daily exercise and their training or the hard activities, they undergo cardiac hypertrophy, they undergo muscular hypertrophy, and of course, these are all normal. With normal functioning, you see a very muscular athlete running, so you must have a physiological cardiac hypertrophy, but it still looks very healthier, of course, than me. Now, where actually these hypertrophy occurs, so usually in permanent tissues like cardiac muscles or skeletal or adipocyte as well. So these are actually the locations where mostly hypertrophy occurs. Remember that in cardiac muscle there is no hyperplasia, but hyperplasia and hypertrophy can occur together as well, like in uterus during pregnancy. So they can occur simultaneously, but in cardiac muscle there is no hyperplasia. You see, I have given a diagram of the adipocyte hypertrophy. So they get enlarged in their size. I hope you understand over it. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. I'll upload the next videos as well.